Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a Friday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and today I'm going to be doing my special spring training all-star edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I promised to do this earlier in the week. I thought it would be fun to look at some spring training numbers and award some players who've had standout springs with a fake all-star nod. So that's what I'm going to do today. I have a couple of guys on the offensive side, a couple of guys on the pitching side, and we'll do that. In today's show, I will hand out these non-existent awards. The first spring training all-star for the Mets is not a surprising one. He's the man who Alex Cora referred to as, quote, the best hitter in Florida right now. And that is the artist formerly known as Pete Alonso. No-brainer on this one. Pete Alonso leads the team with 3 home runs in the spring, leads the team with 8 RBIs in the spring, leads the team with a 1.125 on-base plus slugging OPS. So Alonso is doing everything that he needs to make his case to start the season with the big club and go north and stop in Queens as opposed to going north and passing Queens to go to Syracuse. That being said, service time manipulation is going to more than likely win out here, but I would love if that didn't happen, if the Mets were a little bit more, played with a little bit more of a sense of urgency with the first 2 to 3 weeks of the season to say, you know what, we can steal a couple of games here against NL East opponents, and that might be the difference at the end of the season. So maybe the 2025 season doesn't matter that much right now, and so that might be something that happens. But the service time thing is, it's kept bigger names and better players down. Guys who are bigger and better than Pete Alonso is and was. So we'll see if Alonso can break that trend. One guy who might like to say otherwise is the next spring training all-star, and excuse me, and that is Dominic Smith. Dominic Smith, 419 batting average on this spring for big old Dom. Another OPS over 1,000. He has leads the team with 14 hits this spring. Looks like he's in better physical shape than he's ever been in, and he looks like an athletic ball player right now as opposed to a lump, and that's what he looked like in years past, particularly 2 years ago when he came into spring just totally out of shape. The only positive, the only warm and fuzzy and feel-good potential story about Alonso starting the season in AAA is that Dom Smith will finally get his opportunity to start at first base on opening day. So an opportunity that he more than likely pissed away last year when he came into camp out of shape. The next spring training all-star is Dom's good buddy Amed Rosario, the man who Mickey Callaway loves to call Rosie. Rosario leads the team with 7 runs scored, has a 400 batting average, I believe, or a little over 400 batting average. And all of these numbers, by the way, I did get them yesterday after the Mets and the Cardinals tied in the afternoon. So these numbers do include stats from the guys who did play yesterday. So Rosario is on my list. He's having a nice spring. He's looked in mid-season form, and that's the point that I want to make. I think Rosario looks better than he's looked in the past. He looks ready. He looks like he's graduated up to the major league level as opposed to looking like a guy who was out of place. And we'll see if that continues once opening day hits. But I think what Robinson Cano believes about a player, I think a guy like Robbie Cano has earned the right to have an opinion that makes a lot of sense and that holds a lot of weight. And Robbie Cano says about Amed Rosario, quote, this guy's going to be a superstar. And he might well be right. And speaking of Robbie Cano, he's my final spring training all-star. Robbie Cano defying age at age 35. Excuse me. Came right into spring training and started hitting. Excuse me again. That's what Robbie Cano does. He's got a .414 batting average. He's got an OPS of 1.107. Just having a great spring, doing what Robbie Cano does. And I'm hoping that's something that he carries into the regular season. That would be fantastic if he could hit the ground running. It's going to mean a lot for him as a new Met, and more importantly, as a former Yankee. In his first season with the Mets, it's going to mean a lot for him to step in and be not slump at all from day one. If he can come in and start hot, that'll be great for him. It'll be great for his welcome from the Citi Field faithful and from Mets fans. I do want to toss out an honorable mention on the offensive side, and it's Luis Guillorme. I was souring on Guillorme like 2 weeks ago when he was just like committing errors left and right. It was interesting. I looked at the errors, and they're just, I think only one person has 3 errors, and I guess it was just they were all spread around and they were all bunched in like 2 or 3 games. And I know Guillorme had 2 in one game. He's had 2 all spring, so it was just those 2 errors that he committed. But he's still batting .417. Guillorme has had a really nice spring with the bat, and I just got to tip the cap to him. He's trying to make the most out of every opportunity he's presented. The presence of Adeiny Hechavarria on the roster is probably going to force Guillorme to spend the majority of the season in AAA at Syracuse, but it's not for a lack of trying, so tip the cap to Mr. Guillorme. For Mets pitchers on the spring training all-star list, Noah Syndergaard leads the charge. Syndergaard leads the team with strikeouts. He's got 19. He's got 19 strikeouts and 14 in a third innings. That's a nearly a K per 9 of nearly 12. So that's pretty damn good. What that means is if he pitches 90 innings, he will average about 120 strikeouts total. If he pitches 180 innings, he will average 240 strikeouts. So that's what those numbers represent. Those are good numbers. And the ERA is another good number for Noah. He's sub-2 ERA, 1.88. He's had 3 starts. He's looked really good on the mound. Not a fan of the whole beard, hair, squaggly thing that he's got going on, but hey, all that matters are the results on the mound. Last year, we all know that Jacob deGrom came into camp without his famed locks, and he went on to have the best season of his career by a landslide, and one of the best seasons by a modern pitcher in baseball history. So maybe Noah's new look will pay off. Speaking of scraggly hair and gray hair, Jason Vargas is the next guy on my list. Yes, Vargy has been present all spring. Jason Vargas has had a really excuse me, Jesus. Sorry, Jason Vargas has had a really nice spring. That's what I was trying to say. He's pitched to the tune of a 1.08 ERA. He's pitched and danced around trouble in a lot of his starts, but done so effectively. I was one of the people last year that said I think Vargas's season was a direct result of the lack of spring training. And that was part of it, and I think the other part was because he missed spring training and because he was so woefully ineffective, he was a completely inconsistent presence on the mound, meaning that they would skip him as often as they can. So he would often go 10, 11 days between starts. And as a pitcher will tell you, any major league pitcher will tell you, the consistency, the routine is the key for them. So Vargas being healthy this spring, making all of his spring training starts, being ready out of the gate to start with the team, not needing to rehab anything in AAA. Knock on wood, we still have less than 2 weeks till opening day. But Vargas is going to be a different pitcher for the Mets this year. I strongly believe that. I could talk about deGrom. I could talk about Wheeler. Both of them have been just perfectly fine. There was a stat last night that I saw. I think it was Jared Diamond who posted it, but I could be wrong. But it was something like the Mets starters across spring have a collective like 2.57 ERA or 2.71 ERA, a really nice ERA for the group of five. So that's great. It's great to see going into the season, and I hope it's able to be something the Mets can continue as the season progresses. Final spring training all-star for the Mets. And this is an odd one because I really just wanted to mention him, but it's Luis Avalon. 2.57 ERA. He's also got a K per 9 over 10. I think he's got like a 10.5 K per 9, 9 strikeouts across 7 2/3 innings pitched. But Avilon has secured his bid to be the second lefty in the bullpen without question. You could argue, based on spring training performance, that he's surpassed Justin Wilson as the first lefty in the bullpen. Justin Wilson has not been good this spring. It's just spring training, I know, but still, Justin Wilson has not been good this spring. So it's worth noting that Avilon has had a great spring. He is going to break camp with the team in Queens, or in DC, I guess, which is where they start. But you get the gist. So those are my spring training all-stars. Did I miss anybody? Did I forget to award a particular performance? If I did, let me know in the comments below or on Twitter at Mr_Met. I mentioned it a moment ago. Spring training is over very soon. We're less than 2 weeks now till spring training. Yesterday was exactly the 2-week mark. So March 28th is opening day. I keep saying spring training. Opening day is less than 2 weeks away. March 28th. I cannot wait for opening day. I'm gonna say this until I'm blue in the face, but it's my favorite day of the year, and it's less than 2 weeks away. 13 days. I'll be back a few times between now and then, but until whenever that next time might be, I thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter, and as always, let's go Mets.